As-Samra Wastewater treatment plant is the largest of its kind in Jordan. It's also the first project in the country to be built under a build, operate and transfer model. Here to tell us more are His Excellency Dr. Hazim El-Naser from the Jordanian government, Thomas Langford from CCC and Pazzis from Degremont, representing the sponsors who were responsible for the BOT model. Your Excellency, the first phase of the project addressed, among other things, the problem of a severe water shortage in Jordan. How bad was this, and did As-Samra address this?
Jordan is one of the most scarce water countries worldwide, classified by international indices as number 3. By constructing this treatment plant, Jordan was able to reallocate more fresh water from irrigated agriculture towards the most urgent needs of the domestic water sector, and by releasing more fresh water.
How has the construction of the original plant helped to address environmental and health concerns in Jordan?
By the completion of this treatment plant, we were able to connect more households to the public sewage networks and thereby enhancing environmental and health standards. Most important is the protection of our precious underground water resources from pollution through septic tanks.
Why was the plant expanded at this time?
As you might know, Jordan living in the troubled Middle East, and a lot of people influx to Jordan as a result of regional conflict. On top of that, Jordan witnessing economic development and high population growth rate, which makes the need for additional wastewater services for households.
How has Jordan benefited from commissioning the project from a public-private partnership?
The As-Samra Wastewater treatment plant was the first BOT in Jordan and the first in the region. And by doing this BOT, we were able to attract more private sector participation into water and infrastructure projects in other sectors, energy, infrastructure, and so on. This was very important, especially in countries going under structural and physical reforms. They need such a financing, so they will have less borrowing, especially if they have limitations on their borrowing capacity.
Well, Thomas, over to you now. And as a sponsor, what are the main financing and structuring issues for this project?
Well, this expansion was built on the existing plant. BOTs and PPPs are very difficult concepts to implement. In this particular case, we had to complement the inclusion of MCC and their requirements in the project. Secondly, the timing, the financing was difficult. The markets in Europe because of the financial crisis, plus the situation in Jordan, the deficit was increasing, the country was suffering because of the reduction of the gas supplies from Egypt. It made it somewhat difficult, and we had an overall constraint on affordability.
Well, what financing mechanisms did you use to deal with these issues?
We decided to approach it as a brownfield project and combine the existing plant together with the expansion. This allowed us to use the continuing operations of the plant, help in the securitization of some of the payments that the sponsors were making. It allowed us to leverage the existing plant, which reduced the equity requirements for the new plant.
And this is the first BOT project for MCC. So what challenges did you face in its implementation?
Challenges arose in the course of the discussions. The first reason is that MCC was undertaking its first BOT co-financing with the private sector in this project, and they were involved in all aspects of the negotiation of all documents. Secondly, the expansion was a negotiated project because the original agreement provided for direct negotiation between MWI and the project company as an anticipation for a needed expansion of the treatment plant. Therefore, MCC had to develop thorough cost analysis methodology to assess our proposal and ensure that the price is reasonable. Finally, MCC requires strict adherence to its conditions and requirements, as well as to international standards. In that respect, MCC imposed very strict conditions on the EPC contractor, such as traffic in persons, and on the operator as well when it comes to sludge management.
Well, can the As-Samra model act as a template for future developments?
It is a reference from an environmental standpoint. Renewable energy is produced from biogas capture and hydraulic energy. It is self-sufficient at 95%, roughly. And as part of the expansion agreement, the parties have also agreed to improve sludge management practices and pursue viable reuse option for sludge. Secondly, the viability gap funding approach through the contribution of MCC was absolutely critical to the development of the expansion. Through this contribution, the project is much more affordable for the government of Jordan and financially attractive to the banks and the sponsors. And lastly, if affordability is a must for such long-term contracts, acceptability is also something of importance. In the case of As-Samra, effective stakeholder engagement has occurred from the early stages of the project since its origin, throughout the current operation of the existing plant, as well as during the development of the expansion. And I strongly believe that this inclusive approach has benefited the project and all parties in the end.
Your Excellency, Anne, Thomas, thank you.
Thank you.